Greetings, Poke fans. Welcome back to Poke Relaxing. It has been quite some time since my last video, and I apologize for the absence from the channel, but it has been very difficult to find time to record things in a nice, quiet, and relaxed environment, as I like to do. But rest assured, I have been very active with my Pokemon collecting and investing activities. So, I really would love to know what kind of content people are interested in seeing. I think that's another reason why sometimes it's difficult for me to make a video. Is I'm not really sure what what I should be focusing on. So, all right, without further ado, I am going to start opening this guy up. So I know a lot of people complain because I don't get to the openings of products as soon as they would like, and I do have to remind folks that this is, a channel that's hopefully supposed to help everybody kind of relax and kind of slow down a little bit at the end of the day, perhaps, or when you're trying to relax in the middle of the day, or perhaps the morning. So, we don't just kind of rush right into the packs always, and we like to check in and kind of do a little channel update each video. So I do still have a couple of my little bundles of Black Bolt and WhiteFlare items, along with one collection box that has 10 packs in it from other sets. I have a couple of those available. Those are a pretty solid deal. Basically, it's roughly 20% off, like market prices, if you add up all the items. And I got 2 of those left, so if anybody wants to order one of those, time is of the essence. Just go to my site, hotcardboard.com, search for Pokemon, and you'll see that bundle and just maybe a small handful of other items that I have up for sale. So, today I wanted to open some Black Bolt and WhiteFlare because I haven't really had a chance to open much of this. My kids have opened, one of each ETBs, and I think a couple of the mini tins, which have 2 packs each. So that's about it. That's all I've seen of this stuff, and I gotta tell you, I really love this set. The idea of just packing a ton of illustration rares and special illustration rares into, relatively small sets, like these 2 are. Together, I guess they're a large set, but individually they're pretty small sets. It just seems like exactly what I love in a product. I love products with high hit rates. Crown Zenith is one of my favorite sets, if not my favorite set of all time. And one of the major reasons, or if not like the major reason, I love that set is because it has incredibly high pull rates. There's a ton of like full art cards that you can get in Crown Zenith, and there's also some very valuable cards in that set. There's a few pretty valuable cards in these 2 sets here, but there's many more in Crown Zenith. So that is a set that is a lot higher in value for all of its products. Although on a per pack basis, it's not really that much higher. I think those packs are about $10-11. Packs of this stuff are generally, about $7 or $8, or actually maybe 8 or 9. So, roughly comparable. But in any event, in this box that I'm opening today, the Unova Poster Collection, you get 3 promo cards, double-sided poster. This is the poster collection, and they usually make this of specialty sets. So we've seen these poster collections for a variety of sets previously in the Scarlet and Violet era. And then there's 2 of the Black Bolt packs and 2 of the WhiteFlare packs. So you get 4 packs total. Not a ton, unfortunately. The thing about this set is, right now, there's not you know, a great way to get, I don't think I have any prayer of like showing you this poster, but because it's huge. But I think we can see on the back there's a bunch of like the arts that are on the cards there. You can see those. So, so right now, there's not a really good way to get a bunch of packs without, you know, having to open these kinds of products with all the additional tchotchkes in there. I'm kind of waiting for the booster bundles to come out, because that will make it a lot easier to just get a bunch of packs and not, you know, open up a ton of these kind of collection boxes with all the extra tchotchkes in them. There are also some products that are not out yet, like the I think like this tech sticker collections, which are basically just, you know, a couple stickers and then 3 packs, and those are generally among the cheapest ways to get packs on a price per pack basis. So when those come out, there's a code for y'all. Then that will be a pretty good way to get, you know, sort of the largest number of packs for the least amount of money. So hopefully I can open more of this in the future, but right now, you know, I just have the ETBs, which I don't really want to crack for packs. And then the poster collections, which is what this is. Actually, I'm going to do WhiteFlare first. I think Black Bolt's like a slightly better set. Yeah, so I have the ETBs, the poster collections, and the binder collections. So far, I think that's it. And then there's a bunch of stuff coming out in August from these sets. The tech sticker collections. Actually, there's another. There's a really cool collection box coming out. That's going to be in the stuff. I'm getting a shipment from my distributor on Wednesday, and that will have some of that stuff in it. It's the Victini collection, and it's got a really cool, like full art illustration, rare style Victini card in there. And then I think like 4 packs, two from each set is what I believe they are. So, so that's a pretty cool box, but I think that promo could have some value. So I would not be terribly excited to open a box like that to get packs. All right, we got a Sauce Buck. Very cool card. Illustration rare. And, you know, that's the thing. You know, 1 pack and 1 hit. That is what is making the stuff. I mean, I think the illustration rares are like basically a 1 every 4 packs in these sets, from what I've seen. That's pretty high. That's pretty high. All right, Gothita, Dino, Deerling, Roggenrola, Tool Scrapper, Mindshow, Watchdog, Gilith, Pokeball, Gotharita. I don't, you know, I don't know what these are called. These kinds of like reverse hollows, or is actually it's kind of in the image too. So is this just a hollow? But this like sort of like horizontal, stripy foil design is new in this product. It's something that you'd see a lot of in like the Chinese stuff. I think maybe some of the Japanese sets, but I've not seen those in any English sets. All right, now we're getting the Black Bolt. All right, well, since we're into the product now, maybe I'll stop and sleeve up and just kind of catch up with you guys. Tell you what I've been up to. So yeah, I continue to, you know, try to pick up things that I think are good products to hold on to for the long term. And, you know, theoretically, pretty much everything, if you're going to hold it for 5 or 10 years. is a good product to pick up. But I like to think, it is possible to find better, better products performance-wise if you put a little bit of kind of effort or thought into what you're getting. So I don't just, buy everything. Although I kind of do buy everything that comes out because, I get some of every set from my distributor and hang on to some percentage of that. But lately, there's a really cool energy with that horizontal kind of foil pattern. But lately, I've really been wanting to try to get some like older booster boxes, like XY era and earlier. And so a lot of those boxes are very expensive right now, and a lot of the price increase has occurred in the last month and a half. A lot of stuff that I bought like from Sun and Moon and from like XY is has doubled in price in the last like month. So it's pretty crazy to be buying stuff like that that's going up so quickly. But what I try to do is look for things that maybe haven't appreciated as much, or that there haven't been really many recent sales of. So, you have a chance, if you can find a box of some of that's cool, Zekrom. If you can find a box of some of these older products, you might be able to get it for a deal just because there aren't recent comps that would probably reflect a higher price if there were recent comps. So, yeah, anyways, I continue to kind of shop for that stuff. And like black and white, I got what I got from my distributor. That's a fair amount of product. I'm selling it on my site right now with these bundles. I'll probably do another bundle when I get some other stuff. But I really like, BlackBolt and WhiteFlare, so I've been kind of looking for opportunities to pick it up. Just so I have a little bit more of like, especially the ETBs, because I really only have like a couple cases of each at this point. And for sets that I like, I like to have like 5, 6, 7 cases of either ETBs or booster boxes if it's a product that has a booster box. And yeah, right now I only have two cases of each BlackBolt and WhiteFlare, since I sold the rest, or gave it away. There's some folks locally that I usually like to give a few boxes to. There was another dealer who's a friend of mine who didn't get any from his distributor, so I sold him like a half case of the BlackBolt, half case of WhiteFlare, pretty much at cost. So so I don't have as much as I would like of these two sets. And there's a lot of talk about how these sets are like kind of crashing. It's a word that's used a lot. Excuse me while I set up here. I want to kind of take a look at TCG Player, and pardon my gum chewing. But yeah, there's a lot of negative talk right now in the Pokemon space, and people are like really, it seems, eager to sort of say or predict that a certain product or Pokemon cards in general are crashing. They're going down in value, and like the market's going to zero, and everything's going to be cheap soon because everyone's going to be fire selling everything. Um, and there's sort of an equal number of people who are kind of arguing with those folks and saying, that's not going to happen. We're not gonna see like a crash of any significance. Maybe we see a dip, 10, 15, 20%. Um, oops, that's the Pokemon Center. I want to look at the regular ETBs. There it is. So yeah, so a lot of people, when a set comes out, seem to not realize that it always happens. Basically, at least in this current sort of heated slash bubble market, it always happens that there's a drop, and it makes perfect sense if you understand how the markets work in collectibles, particularly if we're talking about like TCG Player or eBay or anything else like that, right? Like, because before a product comes out, you're talking about pre-sale prices, right? And usually they start very high because there's very few. Well, first of all, TCG Player will only let you pre-sell items, if you're like accepted into their collection of people that are dealers that are able to do that. So the average person cannot list items for pre-sale on TCG Player. Only a much smaller fraction of sellers are able to do that, and so some of those sellers have no interest in pre-selling, so they're not going to list pre-sales ever, at least not through TCG Player. Others may just kind of be slow to do it because they want to wait until they get their numbers from their distributor about how much product they're going to be sold. So the number of the number of units for sale for pre-sale is always going to be most constricted, like in the very beginning of the pre-sale period, and that's why you always see a spike up. That just kind of gradually goes down and down and down as more pre-sale boxes, get listed, and there's just more supply of the pre-sales. But the thing is, there's always going to be a relatively limited number of items available for pre-sale, again, because TCG Player only lets certain fairly limited quantity of dealers list. But when a product then becomes live and is no longer a pre-sale, everybody and their mom can sell on TCG Player. So you have this flood of people all of a sudden with product that can be listed, and of course that's going to drive the price down because your product's not going to sell unless you beat, the guy who who had the lowest price before you listed by $1 or $2 or whatever. And then when you list yours for $1 lower than the previous lowest price, well, then you're going to be low price for about 4 seconds until somebody else lists theirs, and they want to be the lowest price, so they're at the top of the listings, here, because the cheapest ones are first. And that's why all these stupid scam ones, which it's like, oh, I'll give you an empty package for $2.99, thank you. So, but they, exclude these from, of course, the market data, if they sell. But the cheaper you are, the closer to the top you are, and the more quickly your product will get sold. So that drives everybody to kind of, try to beat the lowest price by $1. And if 100 people do that, well, then it drives the price down quite a bit. And that is perfectly natural. It happens for everything on Earth that can be pre-sold on a market like TCG Player or eBay or any of the other online marketplaces. So it's very normal for a product to dip, but then people say, "Oh boy, it's crashing. It's the beginning of the end." But no, it's not. It's literally the same thing that's happened just about every other time a product has released in the Scarlet and Violet era. So, um, you have to wait a little while to see what the market, will do. And right here, it's leveling out, kind of low 90s. And that seems to be the price that the market supports for now, for these products. And I think White Flare is about the same. Let's find out. Yeah, so it's right around there too, 90 to 93 bucks for that one. This one has a lot less trash stuff at the beginning of listings, so you actually see legit listings here. Just 4 items down. So yeah, 90 bucks for an ETB of, just some random, not particularly special, specialty set is a very robust price, right? I mean, before surging sparks, ETBs, were selling for like $10, $15 under MSRP at launch. But that doesn't happen anymore because there's just too many, people looking to buy these things when they come out. So they're all selling for more than MSRP when they come out, and then how much they go beyond that is going to depend on how hot the set is with the collectors, and things like BlackBolt-WhiteFlare are not so enticing for collectors. Although if you look at Destined Rivals, like their ETB pricing should be about 80 bucks from what I recall. Actually, they're kind of low 90s here, but don't buy for this price, folks. I know these are on eBay for like 80, 85 bucks. But Destined Rivals, I think, is generally considered to be a much more desirable set that has some really cool chase cards in it, and people, I think, are generally pretty optimistic about Destined Rivals as a long-term hold, whereas that's not a consensus, I would say, about BlackBolt-WhiteFlare. So I think BlackBolt-WhiteFlare is actually doing quite good, and that, I think, is because people are actually interested in opening those things, given the high hit rate and the fun things that you can get out of the packs. So I'm not I'm not at all thinking that the market is crashing. I don't think that the sort of bull market that the Pokemon world is in right now is going to last forever. I mean, you'd be foolish to think any market as hot as the Pokemon market right now can stay as hot as it is for 10 years, but it might stay there for another year, another 2 years, maybe even. And if you could tell whether it's going to continue for another 6 months or die in 3 months, you would be a very rich person, because you could make a lot of moves that would make you a ton of money if you had the information about which way the market was going, just like in any other investment. So nobody knows, but a lot of people kind of think they know, and I think the consensus among all of those people is that generally most, and if not all, Pokemon products are going to be worth more in 5 years than they are today. Now, maybe you have some disagreement about how much. I mean, you certainly have some disagreement about how much more things are going to be worth in 5 years than they are now. But the fact that everybody can kind of agree that everything is going to be at least worth more than it is now, in 5 years, I think is a pretty strong indicator of the, value of buying some of these sealed products and holding onto them for that price period. Now, maybe they only go up 5% over 5 years, and which case not so great an investment. But if investing in Pokemon cards is your, even, if it's even like 20% of your investment portfolio, then I would urge you to reconsider that and just start looking at some index funds, or some mutual funds, or any number of other kind of more traditional investment vehicles as your primary source of investing, and making Pokemon either, consider it just a hobby, which I think is what probably most people do, and say, I buy this stuff not because I want to fuel my retirement off of it someday, but I buy it because I love these products. I love to open them. I love to look at them. I love to put them on my shelf. I love to tell other people about them and show them, these cool boxes and stuff like that. And that's the value I get out of Pokemon, and that's great if that's the way you want to proceed. I think that's 100%, reasonable, admirable, and wonderful to have a hobby that you can enjoy and that can bring you happiness. So if that's the way you want to think about it, then great. But if you haven't put $1 into your retirement, and you're like 35 years old, but your Pokemon collection's eating up like every dollar of extra income that you have, then it's probably time to maybe talk to somebody who's experienced in sort of traditional retail investing, and see if they maybe have some thoughts that you could share and learn from. So anyways, those are my thoughts, if anybody cares, and I'm sure they don't, about the sort of general state of the Pokemon market. I think personally it probably will remain strong through probably the end of the year at least. I think the new Mega Evolutions set looks very strong. A lot of people are very excited about it. I'm personally very excited about it, and I think that production numbers are certainly not at the moment what they would need to be to satisfy demand. So if demand kind of stays where it's at, there's going to continue to be difficulty finding things for MSRP unless you're really quick with the online purchasing, or you show up at the right time for in-store restocks. So unless something significant happens with demand dropping off, I think Pokemon Company is going to have a heck of a time meeting current demand if it stays where it's at. Now, demand will eventually drop, but how much, I don't know, and when, I don't know either. So, I continue to pick up things at as low a price as I can. I continue to diversify what I'm doing in Pokemon by focusing both on newer stuff that I think is worth picking up for the long term, and also picking up older stuff that will never have a threat of reprint, and that I think has a very different sort of risk profile and a different future potential trajectory compared to some of this newer stuff from Scarlet Violet and from Mega Evolutions. But that's kind of where I'm at. I continue to acquire stuff. I continue to be excited about the new sets that are coming out. I continue to really love looking at all of these cards that are coming out and trying to chase some of them occasionally. I don't open as much as I think I once did, but my kids certainly do, and I can kind of live vicariously through them. So I don't know. I continue to be excited about everything, and continue to try to get the best prices I can on stuff. And what I buy, like for example, a lot of people like to talk about Destined Rivals booster boxes because they're experiencing a real growth spurt right now. If we look at the most recent sales, there's one at just under $300. This is kind of a weird one. It's $215. I think that was like 36 loose packs. And then there's $294, $290. Oh, I gotta sign in to see more. I guess I do have an account, but I'm not gonna sign in. So in any event, this has been getting news because, as you can see, it's been on a real uptick, and it's recently crashed the $300 mark. High sale of $320, and now everybody who's got it listed is basically at $300 or higher, including shipping. So this has become the first $300. I think it's the first $300 Scarlet and Violet era box, and it's a fairly recent set, so that has shocked a lot of people. But it's a good set that a lot of people really like. It's the Team Rocket set from the Scarlet and Violet era, and there's just a ton of Team Rocket fans, and fans of Mewtwo and some of the other characters that are part and parcel with the Team Rocket storyline. So would I buy this box at $300? Well, it's hard to say. I'm not going to, because I have like 10 cases of these booster boxes. So I feel like that's probably enough to keep me fairly happy with my exposure to Destined Rivals. But I do think, if this is kind of this will probably be the best mainline set, like non-specialty set out of the Scarlet and Violet era. And so I think in, 2 years when this goes out of print, this is going to be a $500 box. Unless the market is just completely, soured at that point. Probably it will sour before then, and then, kind of slowly eke its way back. But I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not personally motivated to buy this, but I could definitely see myself potentially being motivated to buy it if I didn't have any and I wanted to make sure that I got some. However, this is a product that just came out. There probably will be a restock at some point, but also, if the market does dip 20, 30, 40% across the board, this is maybe one of the sets that I would want to just hope that I can find some at, a cheaper price than it is today. But I think that hope is much, or my expectation that hope will be fulfilled is pretty low. I don't think a restock by itself is going to, knock the price on these things down much, because there's been restocks of Paldea Evolved, there's been restocks of Surging Sparks, there's been restocks of Twilight Masquerade, and all those boxes are all-time highs right now. So there may be more restocks of some of those products. Probably not Paldea Evolved, but if there are, they will probably also not have much of an effect, just like the prior, reprint / restocks of those boxes. So yeah, I think, if I had none of this and I felt it was a good set, I might pick up a few boxes. But, because I do have a lot of it, I think at this point, I'm not really buying any more. There's a lot of stuff that I don't have any of. Like, I didn't have any, by the way, this turned into a very long video, but hopefully you guys are getting some value out of this, because I do think a lot about, what I want to acquire, and I like to kind of listen to a lot of people's opinions in the, PokeTube space, even though I disagree with a lot of it, but some of it I do find good. But there are things that I have no exposure to, and I want to pick those up before I start spending on Destined Rivals. Like Fusion Strike is an example. I just bought 3 booster boxes of Fusion Strike because I only have, I think, 2 or maybe 3 I think I had 4 at one point. And I sold 1, which I shouldn't have sold. I don't know why I sold it. I guess I had some profit on it, and I thought, let's take some profit. But in hindsight, I think that was a dumb. It was a dumb move, because now I'm buying more for a price that's probably the same or higher as what I sold for. So in any event, Fusion Strike, I worry I am underexposed on, because I feel like with how well Evolving Skies is doing right now, it's pushing $2,500 a box. The next best set, or the next most desired set in Sword and Shield, which I generally think to be Fusion Strike, I think that there's going to be a lot of attention paid to that set, and we could see some prices rise there. And if Fusion Strikes gets to be $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a box, I am not going to feel like buying that very much, even though it may very well be a perfectly good deal at that level, if the rest of the market is sort of indicating as much. But I was underexposed, I felt, in Fusion Strike. So I bought 3 boxes, and that's not cheap, folks. That's like $2,000 for 3 boxes of Fusion Strike at this point, and that's a pretty good price. I got pretty much the lowest price I could find. So that's where I choose to put my funds at this point, versus something like Destined Rivals or Journey Together. Again, I have a ton of Journey Together, so I don't really need any more. Or Surging Sparks. I don't have a lot of Surging Sparks, so that would be one that I could look to add if the price did dip on that a bit. But again, what I'm focusing on is stuff that I have. I feel like I have just very limited exposure to. Like Celebrations is another thing. I didn't have a single Celebrations box, a month ago, but I had an opportunity to get a case of ETBs and a case of the UPCs, and holy smokes, was that a good deal. Both those are about double or more what I paid for them right now, because somebody did a buyout, picked up all the boxes that they could find, and it's driven the price just through the roof on that stuff. But that was a set that I had just no exposure to, and then just like a week ago, I said, you know what? Let me think about what other sets I have like almost no exposure to, and Shining Fates was one of those sets, because it's funny. Shining Fates was the first, I think, Pokemon product I ever bought when I knew nothing about Pokemon. This was like 3 years ago. I knew nothing about Pokemon. I was a sports card only guy. I knew there was some interest about Pokemon, because I saw, like the signs at Target, like limiting purchases or whatever. And I knew there was something hot in Pokemon. I didn't know what the heck it was. And I think it was actually Celebrations that was, being kind of snapped up at stores at that time. But in any event, I bought a Shining Fates like collection box, and something like a year and a half ago, I opened that box, or maybe it was 2 years ago, I opened that box, and first of all, I looked at the price of the box, and it was like literally worth about like $2 more than what I paid for it, at MSRP. So it's basically flat, and had not risen at all. I was like, oh man, this stuff sucks. And then I opened it, and I got, and I looked up the shinier cards in there that I thought might have some value, and they were worth like, nothing. So I was like, oh man, this Pokemon stuff is for the birds. Well, it turns out Shining Fates, interesting, it was probably one of the worst things I could have bought at that time. And I also think buying at that time was just kind of a mistake, because not really much was going on in Pokemon, and a lot of stuff was flat for a couple years after that. But in any event, after that, I never bought any Shining Fates, and that experience almost kind of kept me out of Pokemon forever. But for some reason or another, I decided to get back into it or try it again about a year ago, and the rest is history. But anyway, long story short is, I didn't have any Shining Fates, but I picked up a ETB case that just came a couple days ago in the mail, and now I've got some, some exposure to Shining Fates if that should go up at some point. So I'm looking for things like that to buy some holes in my, inventory, and I'm looking for older, kind of mid-era to sort of like, black and white XY era stuff, which is getting absurdly expensive. I mean, there are XY era boxes that are now $12,000, $13,000, $14,000. So if you want to get some of that stuff, in your collection, it's going to cost you. But I'm looking for opportunities to, buy things at good prices in those older products, and that's pretty difficult. But when there is an opportunity, I like to be able to strike at it. So I have to make sure I've got, funds available for that. So I'm not just going and buying, anything and everything. I'm waiting for the opportunities that appeal to me, and I'm striking when I have those opportunities on my radar. So that's what I'm doing, folks. I hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. I hope you got some sort of information or entertainment or just relaxation out of this video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch y'all next time. Until then, stay relaxed.